For ACUsports.com, I'm Grant Boone as we wrap up the men's tennis season here with head coach Hutton Jones. Hutton, you just came back from Ojai, Southern California, that tournament, which goes back more than a century. Help folks understand the prestige of that event and set the scene for us, because you had some of the best teams in all of college tennis there.
Well, I just heard about this tournament for years, and actually we had a boy play for us from Ojai, California 30 years ago. It's a long time. When I was assistant coach, that I actually went there to recruit him. And that's the last time I've been to Ojai. But I was not there during the tournament. I remember it being a beautiful place and kind of, north of L.A. that you just feel like you're in this small town, and L.A. seems very far away. But the environment that they create there is like nothing I've experienced in my 19 years here as head coach. Loved every national event we've gone to. And you may say it's a little different because this was individual. Your team is competing in individual doubles, individual singles, and then they would keep points, which I did not know that which team did the best. And we ended up winning the team title out there along with the singles and doubles. But they have all these different categories. One thing is the Pac-10 is having their singles and doubles championship and their team championship, and you're playing right next on those courts with all that going on, and the fans don't just support that. Yes, there were a few more maybe in their stands, but the place is they just come out for this tournament, and sitting there in that valley in that setting and watching ACU play, and people come up to me and just compliment our team, and then to be winning it was a euphoric day for me. As far as I was just telling John, well, I think it's not so bad to not play the conference tournament for 2 more years if this is what we can do.
Yeah.
Because it was that kind of experience that, we're going to go back the next couple of years. I think you would be crazy not to, unless they let us play the conference tournament. But the tradition, and then, chair umpires, ball boys and ball girls. Yeah. Awards presentation, you do feel like you're at Wimbledon or something. And then the fan support. There was a lot of energy because people were really watching, and that was a lot of fun.
Following it seemed like there was a big feel, everything about it, everything you just described. It's not your run-of-the-mill event, and to be part of that for ACU, kudos to you for taking your team out there. And you and I have talked about this a little bit. Because you're not eligible for the conference, you do want to give, especially a player like Brittany Reed or Guy Gesser, some of the players as they're going out, you want to give them a chance to compete on a big stage, don't you?
Yeah, well, it had a national feel to it. That's what it really felt like. Part of playing tennis for ACU over the years was you're going to go to nationals. You're going to feel that postseason feeling of it's hard to create that when you don't get to go to the conference tournament or anything. Last year, it was a nice event, and I felt like it for we played the NIT, that we just created a invitational tournament, got 4 teams together in Nebraska, Omaha. They were all provisional. One of those moved up to D1, and we just couldn't get that together. So that's why I kind of unfolded that. I knew I was never able to go to the Ojai because it being during conference, and so we just decided to do that. And plus, one of the things I was telling them earlier, we want to recruit from the United States first, and then have some internationals. And Southern California is a hotbed for talent, but they just kind of don't look this way. And I just thought to get our name there for a few years out there, and a lot more people know about Abilene Christian now than they did a week ago, and especially just the way our kids competed on the court and just their spirit of play.
Well, one of the people that now new fans know about is Nico Agritelli. Let's talk about his season. He was just honored in the last few days as a first-team all-conference singles player. You've got him for a little while longer. He's coming back, and maybe if not for cramping up, who knows if he doesn't take home a title in Ojai.
Well, those are the ifs that you always give your team the benefit of the doubt. I was obviously happened to be watching all of his match. Some of the matches get spread out, and you're having to send your assistant to watch this one. But Nico had lost the first set, but had won the second set and was kind of taking control of this match when, unfortunately, cramps came because earlier in the day he had beaten Grand Canyon's #1 player in a tough 3 sets, and I guess it was just a little too much for one day. Well, that boy goes on the next day and dominates the final. So, with a little creative math, you just feel like, well, Nico could have been over there enjoying the environment in the finals and would have had a great chance to win the whole thing, which would have been really nice. And I think he's anxious to get back there and do that next year. And it's that feeling like almost like getting back to nationals, and we're to have that as an option here while we're not able to go win conference, which we want to go do that as soon as we can. So
could you speak to what it means for a player like Nico, a young player who's been good since he got here but has continued to get better, to be named first team singles all conference?
Well, when I knew Nico was going to be good, sometimes you're surprised both ways, to be honest with you. Some you think, hey, this person's going to do better, and they don't, and then some I knew Nico would be solid, but I gotta say I think he's overachieved for what. Not that I knew he'd be a solid player for us, but for him to step up playing in the 2 and 3 positions and have the record he did, played at #1 a few times, he's just he has the intangible that a lot of people don't have. He's got great strokes and everything, but even those can sometimes be better. He's a great thinker on the court and has figured out that tennis is not all about how hard you hit the ball. He is very good at figuring out his opponent. And like I always say, if they can beat you right-handed, make them play left-handed. And he does that. He'll
tennis IQ.
Even though somebody may be able to do this, he's a great thinker and not just a hitter of the ball. And that's what we're shooting for in everyone. But he, had a knack for that right off, and then he does well at figuring out what they don't like.
Let's widen the lens a little bit as we close things here to talk men's and women's tennis. This is part of the gig. You've been at this for 20 years now. You say goodbye to some people who not just won a lot of matches for you, but whom you've grown close to on the men's and women's side over the last 4 years, I know, and that's always bittersweet, isn't it?
It is. These transitions are hard. They're hard for me. I hope they're always, hope that they're like just, not ready to leave. Maybe there's some that's like, oh, I'm glad this is over, but I think that's the exception to the rule. They're not glad it's over. It's kind of a fun ride that playing college sports, and then I would say especially playing ACU tennis. And some of the experiences they've had. If they look at their 4-year career of those two got to go to nationals 2 years, freshman, sophomore year, and so they had that experience. And now they get to experience going into D1, and just some of the things this year. It isn't, but going to play University of Texas for the girls, we have never played. Some of the firsts there that were kind of fun for Brittany, I feel like, to go do some of those things and hold their own. I mean, I think of that Texas match. Brittany and Casey are 5-all when we have to stop because the doubles is clinched. But this is top 20 team. This isn't their substitutes. This is their #1 team, and we're right there with them when we. So she's got some great memories to take back with her, and G also. It's been a good ride.
Yeah,
it's been a good ride.
And the cupboard is not bare. You've got a lot of really talented players. I mean, this is exciting. I mean, as bittersweet as it is to say goodbye to Gesser and to Reed, I mean, you're reloading in addition to bringing back some terrific players.
Well, I knew the guys. We were a little, other than G being a senior, Nico's only a sophomore, who's kind of shown that he's maybe our best player. But then we had Paul Domansky, Henry Adams as freshmen, just getting their feet wet, showing signs of brilliance, but just not able to get as many W's, which that translates to we didn't have as good a one-loss record on the guys' side. But as far as competitively, we were fine. And adding in the reinforcements we have coming, I think the guys will be ready to be right there, to take on Corpus Christi, who's the perennial best team on the men's, and try to win a conference title. And the girls, to me, have been right there 2 years in a row, just starting off from D2. So if we can keep getting better, and I feel like we've got the people to do that. We want to bring in that first conference title for ACU. That's what we're trying to do. Little competition
yes,
among the coaches.
Among the coaches. Well, congrats on a great season. You are a fixture here, 20 years as the head coach, and as you continue to guide these athletes through this transition, I know that what you experienced last week will mean a lot to them. For Coach Hutton Jones, I'm Grant Boone for ACUSports.com.